Hey everyone, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. AT&T has been kind of a latecomer as far as rolling out 5G fixed wireless services, but lately they've been touting some more locations. Be right back with that. Thanks for joining me. Rick Husey here with Broadband Deployment News. So as I mentioned, AT&T was kind of late to the game in 5G because they didn't have a lot of spectrum. Eventually they did get some C-band spectrum that they had acquired, and that is mid-band spectrum. That's kind of the range that T-Mobile is using, and Verizon now is using a lot of that on the C-band side, and that's the range that CBRS spectrum is. So that's kind of the sweet spot, the Goldilocks spectrum, where you can go pretty good distances. You can get through obstructions like walls, don't have to worry about trees and even rain, like you would with millimeter wave. With millimeter wave, much shorter distances, much more easily attenuated. But with 5G spectrum, you can cover pretty good swaths of territory. So T-Mobile started first with their nationwide 5G. Verizon was doing the millimeter wave spectrum thing, but then they got more mid-band spectrum, and now AT&T's got more mid-band spectrum. There was a controversy for a while with C-band spectrum, especially near airports, and whether it would interfere with airplane altimeters. A lot of that's been addressed, and the waiting period that the big carriers went through on that has passed, and I think the FAA now has been working with altimeter makers, and I think they've noticed that there's not that much of an issue, if any. So the big carriers now have been rolling it out. AT&T, like I say, was a little bit later to the game, even more so than Verizon, but now they're starting to tout some of the new additions that they have. And you see here, this is a story in Telecompetitor, latecomer on the move, AT&T fixed wireless now in 59 markets. AT&T fixed wireless access service branded Internet Air is now available in 59 markets nationwide, including 26 new markets announced today. Company also said it has simplified the self-installation process for customers. New subscribers will start the self-install by scanning a QR code that provides a step-by-step guide, explained Aaron Scarborough, AT&T president of Broadband and Connectivity Initiatives, in a blog post. I'll link to this article on the blog post in the description of this video. And the CPE looks like this. So I guess you see there's a QR code down there at the bottom. And hopefully you can turn off that AT&T logo. I don't know if I would like that on all the time. It's kind of cool, but could be a little bit annoying, especially if you don't want to see that all the time. But this would be basically the way this works. Again, this is mid-band spectrum 5G, unlike millimeter wave, which can be very fast, by the way. That's the good thing about millimeter wave. It doesn't go very far, and it doesn't go through stuff very well, if at all, really. But it's very fast. Well, mid-band spectrum's decently fast, and it can go through walls. So you could put this in your house, and just like with your cell phone, you can 5G cell phone, you can get your service, and so basically this would be the antenna. This would pick it up, unlike a millimeter wave. Again, on millimeter wave, generally what Verizon was doing was they had a two-piece unit. Half of it would be, let's say, on a window outside, and that would have to have a line of sight to a small cell antenna, and then you'd have that go through the window to an inside portion of that unit, which then would broadcast throughout the house. Well, in this case, it just, the signal just comes into the home, and then this device, I'm sure this is a Wi-Fi router in addition to a receiver, or I suppose you could plug this into another router if you want to do that. Probably no need to, but this is basically what the CPE looks like. So it says here, the AT&T Smart Home Manager app tells subscribers the spot in the home with the strongest connection. I actually have that app for my fiber service where I can use that app, and I've got my fiber, runs Ethernet up to a AT&T router. I go ahead and use their router, and then my smart home app, I can tell where my AT&T router is, and I can see in the home where I'm getting the best signal. So this sounds similar. Again, you could use this to determine where the best spot is for the CPE, the wireless receiver, but then I'm assuming also you could use the app to determine where in the home you have the best service through the Wi-Fi in the home, and then whether you need extenders, those kinds of things. And it mentions here the company also offers online extenders or line extenders that will create Wi-Fi mesh in the home and eliminate dead zones. AT&T Internet Air costs $55 per month using AutoPay. It's $60 per month if you don't use that. There will be no price increase for at least the first year, according to the company. And I don't know if it says that. We'll look at the blog post here in a minute. I didn't read it that way. I think what AT&T is saying in their blog post is this is not something where after a year you have to pay more. A lot of times when you get something, you have a year commitment, and then after a year it goes up. So I think I didn't look at their agreement or anything like that. I'm assuming it's month to month. That's the way T-Mobile is marketing it. T-Mobile markets it month to month. You don't need to worry about after a year, the price going up. I'm assuming here you don't have to pay. You don't have to sign a year commitment or a year term. Maybe you do. Maybe I'm wrong. But I didn't read that in the blog post. It says there are state charges in Ohio, Nevada, and Texas. And I'm assuming there are state charges. Well, that was in some of the small print, I think, at the bottom. We'll see if we can figure out what that is in the blog post. AT&T launched its fixed wireless offering at least 2 years ago. Oh, excuse me, not 2 years ago. 2 years after the nation's other major mobile service providers, Verizon and T-Mobile, launched their fixed wireless services, and AT&T remains less aggressive on the fixed wireless access front than the others. At the time of the Internet Air launch last August, an AT&T spokesman told tell a competitor that fixed wireless access was a bridge to the future. In other words, this is not the future, it's a bridge to the future. It says, let me underscore that we believe that fiber is best in class and will continue to expand our fiber footprint, the spokesperson said. So AT&T, they got started they got started with DSL and then have been upgrading to fiber, but basically that's where they got started. And so fixed wireless is an add-on for them, unlike T-Mobile that they got started in mobile and fixed wireless is their broadband play. AT&T, they've been laying broadband infrastructure for a long time, starting with telephone. Well, it started with telephone service, obviously. Then, like I said, DSL service to fiber, but now fixed wireless on top of that. And while they've been doing fiber, they did have this partnership that they did with BlackRock, where they've got, I think it's called Gigapower, I believe, is the subsidiary name. So they are partnered with them, delivering that service as an open access service in various places. So Gigapower, AT&T and BlackRock together will go out and find an area. They'll deploy fiber service, but then they'll be deploying that in an open access model. So AT&T would be a tenant on that, just like anybody else. They don't have to be, I guess, but they would. If they put a network somewhere, they lay fiber and put a network somewhere. AT&T could be a tenant. So could T-Mobile, interestingly enough, or anybody else. So local community ISPs, if there are other ISPs there that would be competitive, or somebody in a nearby area, or anybody anywhere, because you don't have to put in the fiber infrastructure. AT&T and BlackRock put that in, and then anybody who wants to market over that fiber could do that. And those open access networks, it depends on where they're being done, who has to do the installs, let's say to the subscriber location. So it's possible that the operators that are going to market over that network also need to do the installs. They don't necessarily need to build the backbone and the fiber network, but maybe the connection to the home. So let's say AT&T and BlackRock run the fiber down the street. You still, if you were going to be providing service over that, I don't know how they're doing it, but it's possible that whoever's marketing that does have to have local people there or contractors that would, let's say, install the service at the customer's home. And then if there's a problem in the customer home, the local company may have to go out there and do a truck roll to go figure out what's wrong. However, if it's a problem somewhere in the outside plant, then AT&T, BlackRock or Gigapower would fix that. So again, it depends on those open access networks, who's doing what. But again, this is a way for AT&T to be able to expand in areas with fiber and not have to foot the whole bill. They don't have to build everything, and then they're not the only tenant. They have other people that can market over it. So it says here, our goal is to make fiber available as broadly as possible. And again, the Gigapower BlackRock thing is one way to do that. Until then, in areas where fiber is not yet available or feasible, AT&T Internet Air is a viable solution that can deliver reliable connectivity to communities across the country. And that's really the way fixed wireless is being seen today. Fiber is really the future because once you have fiber in the ground, it's the fiber itself is going to be able to deliver speeds higher and higher as we get new technology that can do that. And we've seen that with GPON, gigabit per second, XGS-PON, 10 gigabit per second going over the same fiber, 25 gig PON, 50 gig PON. We're going to be seeing 100 gig PON all over the same piece of glass. So you just have differences in the lasers and how they're transmitting the light across that medium. So fiber really does have the ability to expand much more so than fixed wireless or DOCSIS. DOCSIS is going to hit a point where it's not going to be sufficient. So cable operators are already trying to get the most they can out of their HFC plant, hybrid fiber coax, extending their fiber as far as they can to the customer, and overbuilding in some cases, or doing fiber if they're going greenfield or going fiber to the home. If it's a greenfield area where they don't have infrastructure already, they go straight fiber to the home, cable operators these days. So they know fiber is the future as well. Since AT&T rollout, AT&T has expanded its fixed wireless access to include San Diego, Baltimore, San Antonio, Corpus Christi, Beaumont, this is all Texas, Victoria, Laredo, Harlingen, Walesko, Brownsville, McAllen, and Sherman, Texas. And then they've got Charlotte and Raleigh-Durham, West Palm Beach, Fort Pierce, and Fort Myers, and Naples, and Jacksonville, Panama City, Tallahassee, and Florida. They've got Oklahoma City, Ada and Tulsa in Oklahoma, Indianapolis, Syracuse, in Indiana, Syracuse and Buffalo, New York, Santa Barbara, Santa Maria, SLO in California, Little Rock, and Thomasville in Georgia. So these are some of the areas that they have expanded into. And again, there's a blog post here that this was all based on. They looked at this blog post in the story. A couple of things. And again, I'm assuming it doesn't really say. It says they're in 59 locations. It doesn't say that these are all the new ones that they're just announcing. I guess maybe that's what telecompetitor is assuming or heard. I didn't see that in here. It says celebrating the continued expansion. We're now in over 59 locations, including, and it mentions all these locations. Talks about Internet Air, 5 steps. This has got their map there where it is. You can check availability. Let's see, they talk about how to set it up. Again, there's the little device. And there was something I was going to show you here that, this just came out the other day, but they are, again, saying, hey, this is eligible for the Affordable Connectivity Program, which as of February 7th, they're not going to be able to the FCC is not going to accept any more applications on that. So unless something happens between now and then, or sometime maybe shortly after, this is all moot. So I don't know why they would include this in here. I would think they would have left this out, but it's probably just standard text that they throw into everything these days. And then down here is what, let's see, make that bigger. Down here mentions this, and this is something people are concerned with these mobile fixed wireless access networks. That's one reason why it would be best that, especially a national mobile provider, you've got lots of fixed wireless, independent fixed wireless operators out there, WISPs, that are providing fixed wireless service and they don't provide mobile service. So fixed wireless broadband is all they do. Whereas these national providers like T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T, they've got their mobile network and they're using their infrastructure for their mobile network to provide their fixed wireless access. And one of the concerns about that is that mobile is their bread and butter. So as they start to run into congestion, they want to make sure their mobile customers are not going to suffer, because that's where they're getting the vast majority of their money. So this is always a concern. It says here AT&T may temporarily slow data speeds if the network is busy. Service may be slow, suspended, terminated. That's kind of scary. Suspended or terminated or restricted. That's for, I guess the suspended, terminated, or restricted for misuse, abnormal use, interference with our network, or ability to provide quality service to others. So I guess if you're really impacting the network for others, then they could suspend your account or really restrict it. And frankly, that's going to be or should be the case for any broadband operator. If you've got most customers doing a certain level of service, and then so let's say you've got most customers are getting a good experience and they're doing a normal kinds of things, When I say normal, let's say, they're surfing the web during the day, they're doing Zoom calls at night, they might have several people watching movies. So it's everybody's kind of in that area where they're using about the same amount of usage. But then you've got a handful of customers that are just like, for some reason, going gangbusters. Who knows what they're doing? They could be running a business, don't know. But if they are impacting everybody's experience, then most broadband operators, if they have the technology in place, will throttle those people to make sure everybody else does not suffer. And in that case, generally, what you're doing is you're giving a better experience to everybody, including the people who are abusing the network. So, because when those people are doing that kind of throughput where it's impacting everybody, it's impacting them, it's impacting everybody else. So nobody has a good experience. Whereas you can throttle just those few people to get them really closer to what they should be doing, and then everybody has a good experience. And you don't have to do that if those people are on in the middle of the night and it's not affecting the network, because there's plenty of bandwidth for everybody. But if it's during the day, during peak times, and they're impacting people, then you're going to do that just like you would with this wireless internet service. However, the thing with the wireless service is, again, that spectrum is limited. Unlike, you've got fiber in the ground and you can more easily upgrade your backbone connection and your equipment. With fixed wireless, they've got a limited amount of spectrum, and in some cases, they will only take a certain number of customers. At some point, like T-Mobile, if you look at their sales page, they'll say, hey, get it now while you can, because we've got a limited number of subscribers we can take. Another note on here, here's the $10 per month for up to 5 extenders. Price after $5, so the $55 is after a $5 a month auto pay. And it mentions that's the cost recovery apply in these states. I'm not sure exactly what that means. So $60 a month. T-Mobile has been $50 a month. I just read where I think we're going to be increasing the cost to $60. And I think they've got a prepay thing as well in there. Mentions, let's see, 4, that was their security stuff, guards against known threats, and then terms and conditions may apply. And in here is where I thought they maybe misread this thing about the price increase or whether it does increase. It says for $55 a month plus taxes, so you get taxes on top of that. But again, and the note here is about the prepay, so $55 a month with prepay. AT&T Internet Air has no coverage, no overage fees, so you don't have to worry about that. No price increase at 12 months, no equipment fees, and no annual contract. Yeah, so it says no annual contract right there. So I don't think they're saying that after 12 months it could go up. This is the kind of thing where it's $55 a month, and then at some point, it could be 12 months from now, it could be 4 months from now, they could raise the price to 60 or 65 or something like that. It's a month-to-month thing. There's no term commitment. If you cancel, you don't need to worry about, how much am I going to lose because I signed up at this price. After a year, you don't need to worry about the price going up. It's just $55 a month, $60 if you don't do the prepay. And then it's at some point in the future, just like T-Mobile, like I said, I believe is raising their price now. It could go up. So there's no annual contract. And this is something that, cable operators need to look at, because cable operators still have higher pricing on their broadband packages compared to fiber operators, and certainly compared to fixed wireless. When you look at, there was a recent, I think it was Parks and Associates, there was a recent consumer survey thing where fixed wireless comes out as tops as far as satisfaction on price, and you can see why. Somebody's getting the service, let's say for $50, $55, whereas if you were to get comparable cable service, it could be 100 or more. I shouldn't say comparable. The cable is probably going to be, you're going to get better speeds, download a lot of times, depending on who you're getting it from. And you're going to have probably a more solid service. You don't need to worry. Again, it's not wireless. And certainly fiber has a better price than cable. Fiber's coming in at, a lot of times $80 for a gig, maybe less, depending on where you are. If you've got it from a municipality, it might be a little bit less. So cable's kind of on the high end. And cable has unlike I think even a lot of fiber operators, cable has the 1 year, get a good deal, and then the price goes up. So you could get your cable service for something more like what you could get your fixed wireless access for, like, let's say $50, $60, or maybe your fiber service, but it's got a term commitment, and you get that for a year, maybe 2, depending on what they're doing. But then price goes way up, and you maybe don't notice it until you check your bill, a couple months later, and you go, wow, what the heck happened? Then you got to call them and say, I'm canceling. And then if you call them and say you're canceling, then they'll probably come back and say, okay, well, look, we'll go ahead and extend this another year. So it's this game that you play. Nobody likes it. And it's one reason that people don't like, a lot of times, it's one of the things that cable operators get. It's just that kind of thing where it's like you got to do that all the time. I have the same thing with Sirius Radio, for example. You sign up for a year, it's a certain price, and then goes from being, let's say, $5 a month to $20 a month, and you got to call and get it knocked down. So nobody likes that. You should just go ahead and give people the service. And if you provide good service, you don't need to do this lock-in 1 year or 2 year deal. If you provide good service, and that means the connection is stable, if somebody has a problem or a question or an issue, they can call and contact you and get tech support and get good support, then they're not going to drop you unless there's a product that comes out at a much lower price that is just as good. And people don't like to change. So even that, it's kind of they really need a reason to change. And sometimes it's got to be a much, much lower price for people to do that. Thanks for joining me today. I want to note a couple of places we can help you. One is if you do want to monitor a bandwidth usage on your network and be able to apply net neutral usage policies, again, that improve the experience for everybody. It's not like you're punishing everybody. You're actually increasing the level of satisfaction for your subscribers, because again, those people that are handful of people that are using a lot of usage that are impacting everybody, you can bring them down when you need to. And again, it's dynamic. So just when the network is busy and then they get everything else they want later, we can help you with that. And if you need help with tech support, I mentioned it's very important that you have good end user technical support for your customers, because when they do call you and have a question, and if they can't get anybody, or if they have a hard time understanding somebody, or the connection is bad even on the phone, that's not a good experience, and that's not good for you either. We have call centers based here in the United States, and we've been providing internet support since 1995. Broadband support since it's been out, starting with DSL and cable modem to fiber and everything now, fixed wireless. So we can help you with that. You see our contact information right there. Reach out to us. We'll be happy to talk to you. Just send an email to info@Zcorum. I'll get that on to the right people, or give us a call. And you can check our website for more. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to our channel, click the subscribe button and then ring the bell, and you'll be notified when I'm live. If you like this video, if you give me a thumbs up, I'd appreciate it. Thanks a lot for joining me today. Take care. Bye-bye.